My name is Lena Carter, and I grew up in a tight-knit coastal town in Maine, the kind where neighbors notice if you buy a different brand of milk. I've always been the steady one. Bills paid, deadlines met, promises kept. At least, I thought I was. Until one rainy Tuesday morning in spring 2022, when my phone buzzed like an alarm I couldn't snooze. A bank alert glared up at me, cold and merciless. Account overdrawn by $38,462.15. My savings, the emergency fund I'd spent years building penny by penny, wiped clean. I stared, waiting for the numbers to shift, hoping it was some cruel glitch, but no. My parents had used my credit card to buy a brand new SUV and a vintage Harley, leaving me with exactly $14.27 in my checking account. I let out a laugh, short, sharp, hollow, not because it was funny, but because it was the very card I'd given them for emergencies only. I guess in their world, a shiny motorcycle qualified. Chaos wasn't new to me. My dad lost his fishing boat when I was 8, and instead of getting another job, he buried himself in bar tabs and tall tales about one big win on the horizon. My mom, quick with a smile and quicker with tears, had a talent for charming shop owners into forgiving late bills. By 16, I was bussing tables at Harbor Grill, handing my paycheck straight to the electric company after Dad's debts swallowed our savings. Still, I loved them. I helped when I could. I worked through community college, landed a job as a junior financial planner in Portland, and became the responsible one. When Mom's credit collapsed, I co-signed their mortgage. When my brother's car died, I covered the repairs. I thought, that's what family did, carry each other. But staring at my empty account that morning, I realized I wasn't carrying them. They were bleeding me dry. My hands trembled as I called Dad. He answered on speaker, music thumping in the background. Mom's laugh, loud and sharp, cut through the noise. Dad, something's wrong, I said, my voice tight. My account's maxed out. Did something happen? A pause. Then his voice, annoyed, like I'd ruined his day. Lena, don't make this a big deal. Your mom had hospital bills. Your brother needed his truck fixed, and the mortgage was late. We took care of it. Why didn't you ask me? I whispered. He snorted. Ask? Your family. You owe us. Then Mom's voice, mocking, almost amused. What were you gonna do with that money, Lena? Buy yourself a fancy cake for your 29? My 29th birthday. I'd nearly forgotten it was that week, but they hadn't. Apparently, they'd decided to celebrate by draining my account. The realization hit me like a slap. Don't call me again, I said, my voice steady despite the knot tightening in my chest. Then I hung up, their laughter still echoing through the line. That was the last gift they gave me. Not love, not an apology, but silence. Heavy, ugly silence that made the truth impossible to ignore. I didn't cry. I got to work. By noon, I was logged into every account I had, methodically severing the ties that bound me to them. The mortgage? In my name because Mom's credit score was in the basement. I called the lender and initiated foreclosure proceedings in her name, removing myself as co-signer. My brother's truck? Repossessed the next day when I stopped making the payments. I filed disputes with the bank, flagged the vehicle and motorcycle charges as unauthorized, and froze my credit. Every shared plan, phone, Netflix, utilities, gone. I cut them off completely. They'd always counted on me being the good daughter, the reliable safety net who would fix their messes. But that morning, I decided I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was done being their ATM with a heartbeat. By the next morning, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Missed calls, voicemails, text messages. My parents, my brother, even my cousin Riley. Some were angry. Lena, what's going on? The truck's gone. Some were sugar-coated. Honey, the bank says the mortgage is defaulting. Just talk to us. I didn't answer any of them. I was too busy cutting every last cord they'd tied around me. I changed every password. I canceled the family phone plan I'd been paying for since college. I shut down the streaming accounts they used like it was their birthright. I even disconnected the gas bill, one they could only keep because it was in my name. It wasn't cruelty, it was survival. Growing up, I thought love meant sacrifice. At 16, I'd come home from the diner to find eviction notices on the door. Mom would cry. Dad would make empty promises to fix it. But I'd be the one slipping cash into the electric company's drop box, so we wouldn't sit in the dark. When I landed my analyst job, they didn't congratulate me, they asked for loans that never came back. My brother, who preferred tinkering with his truck over holding a steady job, started calling me the bank, like it was some family joke. But that morning, with my account in the red, the joke ended. By the afternoon, I'd called every bank, every company, every agency linking me to them. I removed myself as co-signer on Mom's unfinished community college loan, the one she'd taken out to get her degree, but abandoned halfway through. I'd been covering the payments for years without complaint. That same afternoon, I emailed my lawyer, cutting all shared responsibilities, even the power of attorney they'd guilted me into signing after Dad's minor surgery last year. No screaming, no dramatic showdown. Just quiet, deliberate steps. I wasn't running on anger anymore, I was running on clarity. They had taken nearly $38,500 from me without hesitation, and I was reclaiming my life with the same precision. No apologies, no explanations. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a text from Riley, my cousin and the unofficial family messenger. "Did you really shut off their gas? It's still in the 40s here, Lena. They're freaking out." I stared at the screen, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Riley had always been caught between siding with my parents and feeding me updates when things got messy. I typed back, "I didn't shut it off, I just stopped paying for it." The typing dots blinked, then vanished. No reply. That silence was heavier than their yelling. But it didn't break me. I was busy building something new, a life where I wasn't the one holding their world together. Then came the knock. Through the peephole, I saw Dad pacing my porch, red-faced like the salt air itself had boiled him. Mom stood beside him, wrapped in her leopard print scarf, tears as loud as the doorbell. "Lena, open the door," she called. "You're ruining everything," Dad barked. Mom's voice cracked into something sharper. "We trusted you. How could you do this to us?" I sat on my couch, sipping coffee from a chipped mug they'd given me years ago. It read, "One daughter." I almost laughed at the irony. For 10 solid minutes they banged, pleaded, and threatened. But I didn't move. Their chaos wasn't mine anymore. That night, I saw Mom's Facebook post. "The ones you love most cut the deepest." Her friends piled on, calling me selfish, ungrateful, saying I owed them for everything they'd done. Owe them? I'd paid for their groceries, covered medical bills, kept the lights on, even paid for vacations they claimed were gifts from friends. And my birthdays? The only celebration was whatever they charged to my card. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I was too busy building walls they couldn't scale. Walls made of self-respect instead of guilt. That week, I started therapy. "When did you first feel responsible for your parents?" my therapist asked. I didn't have to think. When I was 16, I said, Mom was sobbing over a shut-off notice, and I handed over my diner paycheck to keep the heat on. If you want to know exactly how I turned their betrayal into the perfect trap, make sure you hit subscribe, because the next chapter is where they realize I was never their safety net, I was their storm. That was the moment I stopped being a kid and became the adult they leaned on. I wasn't raised, I was raising them. Every bill I paid, every loan I gave, every crisis I fixed, I thought I was showing love. But they had taught me that love was a transaction, and I was always the one paying. I wasn't just their daughter, I was their safety net, their backup plan, their ATM with a heartbeat. They didn't see the years I spent pulling all-nighters to earn my finance degree, the pride I felt when I bought my first car outright, or the quiet dream I had of starting my own consulting firm. They saw a resource to drain, and when they took nearly $38,500 from me, it wasn't about the number, it was about how easily they did it. No guilt. No hesitation. just the cold assumption that my life belonged to them. That betrayal burned, but it also lit something inside me. I wasn't going to be their fixer anymore. My cousin Riley kept texting me, forwarding screenshots from the family group chat. They'd even renamed it without me. But the messages were all about me. "Lena's heartless," my brother wrote. "We gave her everything and she bailed." Everything? I grew up dodging debt collectors, watching mom fake tears to buy time on overdue bills, hearing dad call his gambling losses bad luck. I took those survival skills and built a career, a savings account, and a life from scratch. I shared it with them, not because I owed them, but because I believed in family. But family isn't a blank check you cash behind someone's back. I finally replied to Riley, "If you keep breaking someone, don't be shocked when they stop showing up." Then I blocked the thread. The guilt tried to creep in, whispering that I was too harsh, that family sticks together. But I shut it down. Guilt was their weapon, not my truth. That night, I posted a short message to my friends online. Boundaries aren't cruel. They just make the silence easier to live with. The responses poured in. People I knew, strangers from halfway across the country. "I've been you," one wrote. "Thank you for saying what I couldn't." Their words wrapped around me like a warm blanket. I wasn't alone. Then, one rainy evening, my phone buzzed. A voicemail from Mom. "Lena, it's me. Your dad fell, broke his leg. We're at the county hospital, no insurance. They won't do surgery unless we pay. Please, just call back. This is family." Her voice was soft, urgent, pulling at the same old strings. I stared at my phone, my stomach twisting. Then I opened my laptop and checked my accounts. I could pay for it. But then I opened another folder on my laptop, one I'd labeled Truth. Inside were screenshots of their charges, emails begging for just one more favor, and receipts for the birthday dinner they'd put on my card without asking. Their emergency wasn't mine anymore. It was just another hook they'd tried to sink into me. I texted Riley, "Tell them I hope he heals, but I'm not hurting myself to fix their pain." No reply came back. Just silence. And for the first time, that silence didn't claw at me. It felt like breathing room. I lit a candle, brewed tea, and let myself sit still. No buzzing phone, no panic, just quiet. I wasn't waiting for their next crisis. I was living for me. A few weeks later, I walked into my cousin Hannah's wedding at a restored barn, overlooking the rocky Maine coast. The air smelled faintly of salt and wildflowers, with string lights twinkling under the beams. I went because Hannah mattered. She'd always seen me as Lena, not the family's fixer, not their problem solver. She called just to check in, never to ask for something. But I knew my parents would be there, so I braced myself. I wore a black satin dress, not to mourn, but to make it clear I wasn't the girl they could guilt anymore. My head was high, my heart steady. I wasn't there to mend anything. I was there to live. As I stepped inside, I felt their eyes. Mom, in a jewel-toned dress she probably charged to someone else's card, scanned me like she was measuring my resolve. Dad, leaning on a cane, limped more than he needed to, his rented tux a size too big. Their stares weren't warm. They were calculating, waiting for me to crack, to step back into the role of the good daughter. I didn't. I sat with Hannah's friends, laughed at their stories, and clinked glasses like I belonged there. And I did. For the first time, I wasn't performing for anyone. During dinner, Mom drifted past my table, her hand brushing my chair. "You look different," she said, her voice soft but edged. "Fishing?" I met her eyes, unflinching. "I am," I said, calm but steady. She opened her mouth, but I raised a hand. "I'm here for Hannah, not you." Her face froze, not from sadness, but from realizing she'd lost her grip on me. I wasn't her rescue boat anymore. I was a lighthouse, bright and untouchable. When the toasts came, Dad raised his glass, locking eyes with me like he expected a smile or a nod. I didn't move. I didn't lift my glass. Peace doesn't come from pretending nothing happened. It comes from walking straight through the pain and deciding you won't carry someone else's burden anymore. That night at Hannah's wedding, I danced until my feet ached in my heels, sang until my voice went hoarse, and laughed with her friends until my sides hurt. My joy was a quiet rebellion. They no longer got to decide how I felt. When Mom passed me again, her face tight, I didn't shrink. She wanted guilt to pull me back into the role of fixer. But I was done. I left without a goodbye, the barn's warm lights fading in my rear view as I drove home. That night, I canceled the last auto pay tied to them, a utility bill I'd been covering for years. I wasn't just closing accounts. I was closing a chapter. It's been a year since my parents drained nearly $38,500 from my account. A year since that bank alert cracked open my trust. A year since I stopped answering their calls and started answering my own heart. The guilt used to hit like a siren, loud, sharp, telling me I was cruel for cutting them off. Now it's just a faint hum, drowned out by truth. I gave them my love, my savings, my years, and they treated it like a credit line with no limit. That account is closed now, and I'm not reopening it. I've built something new here in my little Maine town. My consulting business is thriving. I help small businesses bring order to chaos the way I always wished someone had done for me. My apartment is mine. No eviction notices, no desperate knocks. My friends don't call me family to guilt me. They show up to laugh, share coffee, and celebrate without strings. On my 30th birthday, my phone didn't buzz with their hollow apologies. Instead, there was a knock at my door. Hannah stood there with a cake, candles flickering in the sea breeze. She hugged me and whispered, "You were never the problem. You were just the first to break free." We lit the candles, not for wishes but for breathing. Healing isn't loud. It's choosing not to open the door when guilt comes dressed as love. Mom still posts vague Facebook rants, painting me as the villain. Dad plays the victim at family gatherings, leaning into a limp for sympathy. Riley still sends me screenshots now and then, but I don't reply. I don't need to. I've built walls of self-respect, and their words bounce off like rain on a steel roof. I belong to me now, fully, finally, freely. And if this story hits where it hurts, if you've ever felt used, drained, or forced to build your own walls, hit that subscribe button and walk with us into the next chapter. Every story we share is another brick in the life you're building for yourself. Keep going. I'll meet you where the light shines brightest.